Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure, as Jose says, he said a few things, and Gorgeous Nas has said a few things as well. But basically, thank you so much for braving, this winter night to come and join us and learn from these wonderful speakers. Unfortunately, one of our speakers had to cancel. She had to lecture tonight, and Nehan is just running a little bit behind, navigating the traffic coming into the city. But nonetheless, we are in great company, trust me when I say so. So I'm just going to do, just quickly, because we're running out of time, I'm just going to read through their profile so that we can get straight into the questions and we can have a conversation, all of us together. So firstly, I'll introduce myself properly. I'm Dorcas Utkovic, and I'm the founder and producer and host of Oz African TV, which some of you know. It's a platform, it's a digital platform, and we're also on Foxtel and Channel 31. And basically, our thing is to tell positive stories about people of African diaspora who live in Melbourne, Australia, and eventually we'll go global as we grow. And and so that's what we're doing in a nutshell. We've got a website, you can check it out, and all of that. So right here we've got Dr. Simone Ava, and Dr. Simone graduated with honours from Palmer College of Chiropractic in 1994. She then moved to Melbourne to begin her practice, and as an active member of the Chiropractic Association, Dr. Ava wore many hats. She's an incredible woman. She's very busy, and she was chair of insurance committee, as well as vice president of the Victorian branch of the CAA, and on a national level, she participated on several board committee appointments. And she was also involved as one of the founding multidisciplinary team member of the Endometriosis Care Centre of Australia, ECCA, with Professor Carl Wood and Peter Maher, and it was spearheaded by Janine Walsh. And it was also one of its first kind to incorporate the allied health to address women's issues in the 1990s. And Dr. Simone studied chiropractic neurology through Carrick Institute in 2003, and in 2008 she opened her own practice, Balanced Body Chiropractic, and she runs a country practice in regional New South Wales, as well as a practice in Boronia, joining the healthcare village of Melbourne Eastern Health. And she was a former board member of the International Federation of Women in Commerce and Industry, and she still actively participates today. Please, let's make Dr. Simone feel welcome. And right over there, we've got Veronica Kyoya. And Veronica came to Australia in 2002 with her family. She's a business practitioner with over 15 years experience in designing business systems and strategies for clients in diverse range of sectors, including VET, early childhood education, as well as care, and professional services and health. She has a track record for setting up systems and for small businesses looking to register as training organizations, and she leads it, to a successful registration. And she's highly respected within the African Australian community as an owner and manager of a successful RTO and provider of early childhood learning, education and care. And she's also Chief Executive Officer for Diamond Valley Learning Centre. She's the Director at Interlink Consultants and Director at Ashley's Health Care. Please, let's welcome Veronica Kyoya. Can you take a seat now? That's okay. So, tonight, I guess some of the things that we want to look at is, firstly, I would say, how do people turn, I feel like I'm not sitting right. There. How can people turn a passion into a profitable business? Because I think most of the people these days who go into business or entrepreneurship, it starts as something that you love, something that you find yourself doing over and over and over, and then people tell you, oh, you should make money out of this. So I'll put it to both of you. When does one know that they're ready to turn this passion into a profitable business, as well as keep their passion going? You know, if it was to help people, how do they balance those two things? Start.
I don't think there really is a good time to start, other than just put your foot out there. I think that you can get yourself weighed down with ideas and how you're going to do it, and if you don't try and take that first step, you won't.
It's not going to happen.
No, you just have to jump in.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much.
That's true. Do you find that's the same thing for you?
Yeah, I think it's when you realize that you can make money out of your passion. And that is because you can, for example, you can be making, let's say, scarves for family members or for friends, but you realize that you can be paid for making those scarves or to sell them. That's when it becomes a business. When you can be able to tell that you can make commercial benefit out of it rather than just being, giving it out.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, it's when it becomes a business.
And then when you decide now, you didn't go to a business school, you didn't, oh hey! Hello. Nihanda's here, everyone. Please welcome her. Sorry to cut that little conversation of ours short. But I'll just, I'll bring you in on this one, because I think you would be good to answer that one as well. We're talking about when does one know when to turn a passion into a business and still kind of keep their integrity, or keep that passion going. If it was, for example, with you, which I'll tell you a little bit more about her, how do you do that? When do you turn it into a business?
Okay, well, I've got a lot of different gifts, and I'm also quite smart in a academic way as well, and my first choice was going the academic route because that's what my parents wanted me to do. And I was really deeply unfulfilled in that and had a lot of mental health issues. So I decided to go the other way and choose what my 5-year-old self wanted to do, which was acting, dancing, being a creative. And along that path, I've discovered that it's not always easy to decide which thing you're going to do, but you have to pick something that no matter how bad you feel, you can keep going. So there's some hobbies that I have when I'm going through a down period in my life, I just can't be bothered. But if it's something that it just brings me alive and it takes me into a different space, if it's that kind of a passion that you can do whether you're sick, whether you're doing well, then that's something to really consider. And is it something that is wanted in the market as well? Because there's no point going for something that isn't going to be monetizable as well. So finding that balance.
Great. Well, now that she's told you that she's so gifted, it's true. I'm going to read a little bit more just so you know a little bit more about Nihanda. So she's an actress. She's an all-round artist. And she recently created a brand and a movement called Oshun Lilith.
Yeah.
And it's based on products and services that support women to heal, transform their lives into a higher and more expanded expression of their soul. And she uses different healing modalities to based on creative expression, embodiment, energy medicine, and basically, for women to experience their feminine bodies, sensuality, beauty, heart, and other sisters, and whilst along the way, just going deep inner for inner transformation, right? And Nihanda, I've spoken with her before, and I know her story. It's beautiful, but the reason she's doing what she's doing and going deep and going the soulful way is because of her personal experience, which she was inspired to create this business from her own healing journey as an African woman and creative who was deeply traumatized since childhood from sexual trauma abuse and being heavily suppressed in her feminine expression from growing up in the patriarchal society. So she eventually had a mental and physical breakdown that subsequently led her to her spiritual awakening and self-healing journey. And also the recent Me Too social movement gave her even, a bigger push to say you are not alone, and it's important to come out and voice your story and share with others in a way that will help everyone, particularly in the areas of mental health and sexuality. So, yeah. Welcome her. Awesome. So now that we know that if you're going to do this thing, it has to be something that's needed. There's a market for it. There's some sort of a need for it. You just have to dive in, and you know that you're ready. So now I'm starting my business. I'm an emerging entrepreneur. What do I do? Like, where do I start? You spoke about mentorship as being an important thing. You can go to school, you can learn all of these things, but mentors play a key role. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
When you have that passion, because I believe that when you are starting a business, it has to be something that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about what you're doing and then you want to take it to that other level, that's when you can get a mentor who can take you through that journey. And sometimes they are there. If you are lucky enough to be in Melbourne, there are those services that are available and given by the government. But you can also speak to friends or people who are in business, and they can take you through that journey. If you go to a website, for example, the ATO website, it will also give you those journey, those processes. So for you to go to that extra level, because there's a lot of systems that you need to go through. For example, as I said, the ATO, you need to register as a business. You need to have GST registered. You need either the company to be registered. So there are those processes that you need to go through. So having a mentor to take you through that journey would be an ideal process to go through.
Yeah, right. And someone like yourself, Simone, who is, your business is more, in inverted commas, more traditional. Like, if somebody's thinking of chiropractic practice, you go in, you pay for your services, and you get the service and you leave, and obviously within the price there's the profit that you'll make. You pay for all of those other things. Setting up something like that for you, you migrated to Australia and then you set it up. I mean, just sounds easy. Yeah, I just set it up down the road and I had my practice, but that's not the case.
No. I actually married an Australian, and his brother was a chiropractor, and so we actually bought an established practice. And when we took over the practice, we started sort of taking over his patients as he started to move away from the practice. And we had people that were referring patients in as well. So that was great. But we still had no idea. And the first day that we actually took over the practice, which was the 7th of March at noon, 1995, because we didn't even think about having credit card facilities, cash for change, receipts, we were just taking over. And it was like, oh my God, we have no money, we have nothing. We didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So, we learned the hard way. And, at that time, I was in a partnership, so it was very different. But there were a lot of different aspects to running a practice that I had no idea about. Just the negotiating rents, finding staff, and doing all this stuff. And so I was in that environment for about 15 years. And then I branched out into my own practice. And I knew being on my own, it was going to be a lot more difficult to manage all those different decisions and all the different players in that environment. So I had been practicing in New South Wales. And what I had done there was I went to another chiropractor. I said, look, I come once a month, you mind sharing your room, I'll pay your rent, and what do you reckon? And that kind of worked really well, and I didn't have to do anything except bring my files and stuff. So that was good. And then I thought to myself, well, why can't I do that now that I'm branching out on my own? Because I don't want to have to hire staff. I don't want to have to deal with all this superannuation and all that other crap. I don't want to do that. So it took a while, but I found like a serviced medical facility. I went in, I had a look. They provided everything. I basically just came in, brought my table and my files, and away I went. So I was able to sort of think outside of the square to achieve what I wanted to achieve, and that was really good.
And in terms of, the capital to get you to where you are. So, imagine somebody's just finished their studies, maybe in, optometry or even chiropractic or whatever. And I think these days, in any institution or most institutions, people are encouraged to become entrepreneurs, everyone can sell something. We are all selling something at some point. So if somebody's coming out of that, what do you advise? Do you advise them to start somewhere in an establishment, learn in that way? And, in terms of money, what kind of, finances are we looking at?
Well, I guess it depends on what you require. So if you're a podiatrist and you're making, orthotics and all that stuff, there's a cost for all the material. But it's really hard to say how much you're going to actually need. And so a lot of people are encouraged to become an associate for maybe 12 months to a year, to 2 years. I always encourage new graduates to go out and locum. So just go into different practices, wherever you can get in, and cover for them so they get a chance to see how different practices work, how to manage patients, and without the risk, because it's not their patient. So they can kind of go in and kind of do whatever they do, and then they can get out and go, okay. And they don't have to see what the outcome is long term. Whereas when you're in a practice on your own, you're following that patient for the length of time that they're with you.
Great. Well, there you go. That's a little bit of how it works. Now, you also set up systems for, for businesses. Now, every day, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree with this, when you open your social media pages, every third or fourth post will say, learn how to make your fitness business a success, or pay this much money and I'll help you how to start a course, or there's all these instant, I can help you do this with your business, I can help your passion become a business. And so for somebody who helps businesses set up to become an institution, or somewhere to teach to a point where they can register and maybe be accredited, what's the process from your point of view? I mean, there's that immediate, you can pay $800 and who knows, it might happen, it might not happen, but for somebody who sets all of that stuff up, what would you advise if people want to turn whatever they're doing into a course and teach people and make money in that way?
You need first to identify why you want to do that. I think this stepping back is saying, why do I want to register this school? Why do I want to have to go into this business? Because there are times when we want to do a business because someone else has been successful. And so because that person is successful, I want to do that business. I go back and say, do a business that you want to do so that don't reflect on the other person, because two people can be successful in two different businesses. So it's coming back and finding, why do you want to teach? Why do you want to have this course in there? Why do you want to open this school? And coming from there, then we can establish why you want to. So you have done your own market analysis. Or you come back and say, I haven't done that, but this is where the area I want to go. So we'll do a market analysis. Why do we want to do it? Where do we want to establish? Because we may establish in Footscray, but maybe there's no market for that in Footscray. So we do a market analysis. Or if you want to establish a school and you want to teach, for example, business, then we need to identify, is that the the cost that is being, the market needs. So we need to go back and do those market needs analysis and find out why you need to do that course. Then, touching on in terms of finances, and this is something that I've had to learn through my own experience, is that it is important to have at least 6 months of capital to put into the business, so that you know very well that there's no income that will come in the next 6 months, and it is a fact. You open your doors and no one will come in for maybe
6 months,
even 6 months, and sometimes even for 12 months. So you must have at least 6 months of savings, and so that you can be able to run your business for that period of time. In either case, it's a requirement for you to register anyway.
Yeah.
So it is stepping back and doing those systems. And once you establish that this person can do it, because on the other hand is that you also have to understand the business you're getting into. Because I always say, do not start a business because your friend can do the business, can help you with the business. For example, if you're starting a cake shop, because your auntie knows how to bake cakes, it doesn't help.
It's not gonna work.
Your auntie might decide to go on holiday. What do you do? So, yes, that's something that if I'm establishing a system, I want that person to understand that this is your baby. You need to run out. What are the policies? What does the government require? Are you ready to learn those things? Because once I step out of it, it's for you to go ahead with that. So,
So prepare yourself, I guess.
Have enough capital.
Have enough capital. So, speak to your aunties and, put it away for at least 6 months. And I think that's one of the hardest things because, everyone, like I said before, everyone has something that they love and they think, I can turn this into a business. And you're just like, I'm going to launch into it. And then some people go get loans and, you do all of these and then no one walks through the door for like 6 months. And you're like, this is not working.
There's also a program called the NICE program, which will help you through that process. And I don't know how much of that they go through.
Well, you tell us about that because I was going to say, how do you do it?
Initially, when I started, I kind of just jumped into it, and I was going to different personal development workshops and seminars, and I lost a lot of money because I invested in all these people who were saying, let me help you and I can turn your business into, into gold. But the reality is you need to create systems where you learn how to actually action things and take risks and put yourself out there, and no one can do that for you. And the NICE program helped me, I guess, because before that I was just operating without a business plan. And then when I did NICE, it was like 60 pages later with spreadsheets and really looking at your cash flow and really thinking about doing your market research and looking at, little things that I hadn't thought about, and I was wondering why I wasn't actually making money for years. And it's those little things of just knowing how to position yourself, how to price yourself, having savings for when you don't have any clients, marketing strategies. So NICE is great, and plus they give you, I think it's $9,000 for 9 months, like $1,000, nearly $1,000 a month, which is really, really helpful.
And who qualifies for NICE? I know it's to do with Centrelink, and
you first have to go on Centrelink, but then they then forward you to a NICE organization which is connected to a school, usually like a TAFE, and then you have to go for a course for about 6 weeks, where they teach you how to do your business plan for 6 weeks.
Oh my God, business plan!
And they even get like the tax people to come and talk to you. So it's like, it's a beautiful government initiative, and I think it just saves you so much money and time.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow. Well, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and ask if anyone's got any burning questions that they want to ask. Let's just, keep it fluid. Oh, there's one. There.
Hello everyone. My name is John Guy. I'll start by explaining what I do. Basically, I own a digital service company. So pretty much everybody here is eligible for the services that I do provide. I'm not here to advertise. What we do is we make websites. We also do advertisement, like digital advertisement. We make mobile apps, and we also we have platforms that are being used right now by the Council of Aging. That includes the Ikan and IDEAS program. So I'm way into the IT industry. I believe that that's also very important. So my question was, if you are into entrepreneur, like an African entrepreneur, and it's hard for us to be actually recognized, is there something that you guys provide that allows us to be, our services or product to be recognized widely by our peers or let's say the African community?
Who wants to take that?
I'll take it. I'm one person who believes that we have equal opportunity for everybody.
Yeah.
And that mentality that is there anything that I can do so that because I come from Africa, so that my work can be recognized? I think to me it's you're putting yourself backwards. It is, Australia is an equal place, and I believe in that. If your work is good, people don't care where it is coming from. They'll take it. And you're doing something that is internet, it's different from us because as a teacher, everybody can tell I come from Africa because of my color. But for you, you're dealing with internet. You're dealing with things that people don't actually have to see you. And we still make it. So do not put yourself saying that, is there anything I need to do? Just do what you're doing. If it is well and it is good, everybody will go for it. Most of the times, we work through the systems, we don't care who's behind the screen. So don't put yourself backwards, go for it and be courageous.
Oh, here's a question over here.
Good night.
Hello.
So I would like to know, from your perspective, what does it take to plan yourself and get a strategy that actually gets you to that point? Because it's not only like the passion as you were talking, it's not only like knowing that you have the resources to go ahead, but also like to plan yourself and get the strategy down, because sometimes you can drift a little bit. And that's like the hard part. So what can you do, or what's the thing that have worked for you guys on keeping on the same kind of line, like keeping on the same path?
Well, for me, I found, having a mentor or having someone that you hold accountable, and you do that for each other. So there's a chiropractor who happened to be my next door neighbor, and then we were no longer living near each other. But his practice is not far from where I live. And we started catching up for coffee. And we started sort of talking about what we were doing, what ideas we had, whether or not they were working, and it was really good. So we actually had like a buddy system. And that really kept us accountable. There are other people that I spend time with, and we do a similar thing, but in a different industry. So, yeah, find a buddy that can hold you accountable.
I'm interested to find out what you do. Like, I know you do a lot of different things. So in that regard, how do you ground yourself to make sure that,
Okay, well, I definitely have friends as well, and people that are like-minded are on the same journey, because you need that. Because being an entrepreneur is more of a personal journey than it is actually an external thing. So how you feel about yourself determines how much you're going to put yourself out there, and how much courage you're going to have, and how you're going to pick yourself up when you fall. So I know definitely for me, if I don't do any kind of exercise, it's a disaster, because my mind is just not centered. So something like a practice every day that helps you just center yourself, because that helps you come back into what is true for you and what is right. And most people fail because they don't take care of themselves, and they don't ground themselves, and so they get caught up in whatever is going on in the world. And if you don't manage your time, whoever's got the strongest energy is going to take your time. So whether it's the TV or whatever. So grounding yourself, having friends that support you. If you have people in your life that are negative, I just kind of drifted away from that vibe. It took a few years, but I just found that some people, when you're trying to expand yourself, they feel like it's a personal attack on them, or they feel really crushed or triggered. And that's natural, because as you evolve, you kind of force people around you to grow up and expand, and so you might have to leave.
You write another list, and then you got this diary, and you write it in the diary, and then you get it on this other thing, and then you're like, where's all my stuff?
Yeah, where's everything?
I found a list that I wrote in 2015. I thought, damn, I didn't finish it! This is no good! And so I decided at that moment, when I found that list, I was going to finish it.
Yeah.
And I finished it that week. All of it!
Yeah, there you go. Well, I heard one woman say, you know, she's also like really busy, you know, she's doing a lot of different things. And just like you're saying, so what she does is she's realistic about it all. Like, you know, you can't do it all at the same time. So her Mondays are absolutely for replying to emails. So if you send an email on Thursday, no matter how important it is, and she can see it coming through, she won't reply to it because that's not emails. I mean, unless someone's dying or whatever. But like, if it's like business related and it's got to be like, you know, can you offer me this or da da da, put it in the Monday pile. And then on Monday, she sits and she does emails. And then on Tuesday, it's her research day. And that means she would go for networking, she would go to the gallery, she would go to, you know, walk around, watch TV, surf the internet, looking at all of the things that would fit into whatever it is that she's doing. And so, you know, on another day she would do family, like absolutely not touching anything, and that's family day. And so in that way, she has found that to work for her, and she doesn't miss a beat. So when people, and then I guess you can go a little bit further in terms of, you know, as you get into the digital space, which we all are in, you get tools where you can get automations. So when people send you emails or Facebook messages or Instagram messages or whatever, you can just set up an automatic respond. Because, you know, people we will get back to you in a certain time. We acknowledge that you've sent to us, your time is important, you know, all of those nice things that people go, oh, okay, something will happen. And then next week on your Monday of emails day, then you go back to it. You go, da 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 da, thank you, this is the situation. And you know, those sorts of things I find, and this is when you can probably speak to John over there, who is the digital man, and he can set you up, you know what I mean? Because these days everyone is so busy, and you can even get, like, I forget the name, like if you're running a blog, for example, because these days, you know, it's so digital, so, and you can't, sometimes you're like, I want to write a super amazing article, but I've got this meeting to go to, I've got all of these things, and I've got all these deadlines. You can actually outsource. There's like some, I don't know what they're called, but if you look it up, depending on what, you know, what industry you're in, but with blogging, you can get people to write for you and just proofread it and do all of that stuff and get help and delegate. Like, you know, I mean, it feels good at the end of the day to go, oh, I did it by myself. But then you're like burnt out. I know that because I did that. Like when I started Oz African TV, not because I wanted to do it all by myself, but because it was in 2015 and the African community wasn't as vibrant as what it is now. There were not a lot of places that you can just, you know, click online and be like, oh, and then just send a message. So I felt like I was in a little vacuum, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And literally I was working a full-time job with a minimum of 50 hours a week, excluding lunch and travel. And so I was doing that, and I was finishing my Master's of Writing course, which I was doing online, and I was writing Oz African TV. So before we went to filming, I was like, I felt like I was going to die, but I think it was, you know, being excited, nervous, going, oh my God, it's about to happen, or, you know. And so after that, when I went into season 2, I got a lot of help. I was just like, okay, and I had, you know, Rev right here. She knows, she's my manager. And so I kind of, you know, sat down with her, offloaded everything that I needed to her. And then on the day, I don't have to deal with that, you know, and then somebody else, I gave something else to. And so I think, you know, and that goes back into the time management. That way I even had a bit of time for myself. I could sleep. I was like, oh my God, this is good. And you know what I mean? So there are many different things that you can do. And I think asking for help and reaching out, I find when you know, sometimes you're like, oh, this company's so big. If I write them an email, they might not answer back. But you never know. You can just write an email to a CEO. And they might reply to your email. You never know. And just ask them and ask to have coffee. Can I, you know, pick your brain? Lots of people like that because they've got lots of information and they're more than happy to share. So, yeah, there you go. Question.
Hi. It's hard to see you guys from back here.
Oh, sorry.
I just have a question for Nihanda, is that okay? Yeah. With your business, did you, when the NEES program came to you, did you work from a place or a home or?
I first had to go to the course, and so you have to do that once a week. And then I was working from home, and you have to tell them where you're going to be working from. So, because it's part of like your location for your business, like they need to know where you're going to be. I found home for me works. It doesn't always work for everyone because too many distractions, especially if you live with other people. You might need to go to a co-working space or somewhere that's, even a cafe.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, there's another one. Oh, what's the question?
Hi there. So my question's actually to all four of you, and I'm in the early stages of my own, I guess, entrepreneurial journey, and I'm really interested in the struggle, to be honest. I am.
It's real.
Yeah, it's very real, but I sometimes think it kind of gets brushed past because people kind of skip those 12 to 24 months and what actually happens in the real details in those moments. So are you guys able to divulge into a moment in that first 12 to 24 months where you were scared, you were worried, it wasn't working, or you felt it wasn't working, or you had an idea that it was going to work, but to you it felt like that's going to be in 5-10 years time, not necessarily like in the next year or so? And how did you overcome that? What was the moment where you kind of felt like, I don't know if this is going to work, and then how did you get through it?
I can start because I've just come out of that again. During a business, I don't think it ever just gets super easy, but you get stronger, and you get to start to see that life has patterns and it has seasons. Sometimes you have an off season, and sometimes everything's on. I guess it's the reason why you're doing it. Do you love it enough? Because those are the things that keep you going. And I've actually done something like where I've started something and then I've checked out because it wasn't working, and then I felt like really low self-esteem about it, and then I just stopped doing it. But it's like the universe just brought me back to the same thing, because if you're passionate about something, you're gonna keep attracting it. So even if you ignore it for like a year, it's gonna come back and it's gonna come back, and you're gonna meet people who are gonna be like, why are you doing this thing? So you just have to stay on the perseverance. That's the only thing. And it does get hard, but when you're feeling really low, like last week I was like, I don't want to do anything ever again, because I was having a bad week. I call all my friends. I call my support team. I load up on, there's so much amazing motivational stuff on the internet, like video. Will Smith is like my favorite. You have to feed your mind, because it's all in the mind. So if the mind is in a space of I'm a victim and I'm not going to succeed, then that's actually what you see around you. So you have to shift your mindset. So when you watch yourself going into those low spaces, that's when you need to have a strategy of, okay, when I'm in that low space, who are my friends? Who can I count on that's going to lift me up when I'm down? What can I listen to that makes me feel good? Maybe I just need like a few days off, to go somewhere nice where it's warm. You find strategies to pick yourself up, and you start to recognize that, oh, okay, this is just like my shadow, and it's not really real. It's just what my mind is creating. And then you just sort of see it, and you're like, oh, I know you. But you keep going because, it's what you love and it's what you're here to do, and if you're not sharing that, then it kind of eats away at you as well. So yeah.
I'll reiterate that the passion is the one that drives you. There are times, yes, you feel like this is too much, but because you're so passionate about what you're doing, you kind of go to the next day and the next day and the next day. Are there times when you feel like you could give up? Yes, but the passion is there. I always say a business for me was like having children. Even if they stress you, you can't offload them to anybody.
Give them away.
You just love them, So it's the same thing. You kind of keep going, and the passion is there. And the other thing is this adrenaline that drives you. This excitement. This is your own. This is something that you love doing. Because if you're doing a business because that's your passion, it will keep, it is the one that feeds you. But if you do a business because someone else is doing it, you'll give up along the way. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, it was really, really hard to start my practice. When I had previously been in a partnership, and then I was liberated. And in that liberation process, I was destitute. But I still had one of my practices that I was going to that was still consistent. So, you know, there was food. Food was important. But, you know, the guy that I used to go and get my hair done, he started crying, "What's happened? Your hair is falling out." You know, it's biting my nails. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up every morning and I'd check my bank account. And, you know, it was awful. It was awful. And I knew every single month I was going to be short. And I just kept going. I just kept going because I love what I do. It's good for me, it's good for others, it's good for the greater good. There's nothing, you know, there's no other thing to do. And so I just kept going. And then one day, I didn't wake up and look at the bank balance. And I was like, oh. And then one day I realized, I didn't put the money in the bank. Oh my God, I've got 2 days here. This is good. You know, now it's like, you know, it's still, you never forget that. You never take that for granted. But you always know that you keep that faith. You know that this is something that you're passionate about, you love, and it will turn out okay. And, you know, the other thing that's so wonderful about this country is that there's a safety net. So if all else fails, you've got food. So, you know, that's all. You're fine. You're fine.
Well, see, with me is I'm kind of, although I started this in 2015 in a way, because it's a slow process, I'm still within that 12 to 24 months. So I haven't even started to make money. Like, whatever little money that we make, it's kind of like if we're going to film something and we charge somebody money, it goes straight to the crew. You know, I'll pay myself a little bit, everyone a little bit, and we'll buy lunch for the day. And it's kind of like, oh, we filmed this thing and it was great. You know, so it hasn't gotten to a point where we're like, okay, and then we're going to put back into the business, because that's what you do eventually when you get there. But for me right now, it's important to acknowledge the people who work with me. And so, you know, even if we can't buy that expensive, you know, equipment that we want, as long as the people that I'm working with can get, you know, $20 or $50 or whatever it is, you know, I can never pay the real film industry rate right now. So yes, I'm going through that. And sometimes I'm just like, yo, why must we do this? You know, why can't I just go to a job? I worked at Neighbours for 7 years. I had a, you know, weekly salary. It was great. You know, it's never amazing, but there was food, there was money coming in, but you know, but then there's that thing, that passion, that drive, that need for that thing that comes back to you, that, you know, if you don't act, it'll always come back to you until you do something about it. So I think that thing for me is being a storyteller. So, you know, being a storyteller through the screen, and whatever I do, it keeps coming back. Like, you know, if I just shut down, there'll be things like, you know, there'll be a post, there'll be a message, somebody will send a random email and be like, oh, you guys are doing such fabulous things, we wanted to, and you're like, oh, really? Oh, yeah. And then, you know, you pick, and then that brings you back. You're like, actually, people are looking and we're doing wonderful things. Maybe it's not so bad. And then you get up and you're like, okay, great. Let me go look at my business plan and see where I'm at. And you're like, okay, so I've been, you know, down in the dumps. So how do I pick myself up? Make a phone call Rev, call a couple of other people and be like, guys, let's have a little powwow. What can we do? It's Melbourne Fashion Week. Can we do something about it? You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm still going through that. It's not easy to navigate. And there's a lot of sleepless nights where you're like, how am I going to do this? If people are helping me, we've turned down a lot of opportunities because we don't have resources. But that didn't deter us from keep trying wherever is possible. And you know, you go to apply for grants and they're like, oh, but you're for profit. And you're like, oh, maybe I should become not for profit. And you're like, oh, but that's not my thing. You know, and then so you have to stay strong in that thing, whether it's going to take us 2 more years until we get to where we want to be, which it'll never be because you always have to consistently grow. It's just, yeah, they do happen at the moment, those moments. But yeah, we keep going because we believe it's important, and that's what, it's our part of our purpose. So we'll do it regardless.
I just want to share a story about this entrepreneur called Strive Masiwa, who's from Zimbabwe, and he's like a billionaire in Africa, and his wife feeds like thousands of kids a month. I knew them when I was growing up in Zimbabwe, and it took them 11 years to get their business approved by the government. So he was in it for 11 years waiting, and then when it got approved, Ikan was the company that he formed, which then spread all over Africa. Now he's a billionaire. So it's like, sometimes you don't know. It's worth it to wait, I think, 10 years, if you're going to end up being a billionaire. So you don't know what you're sitting on. It's like, you just have to keep going however long it takes. But it's got to feed your soul on some level, because that's what's going to keep you going when there's no food or other things.
Your friends will feed you.
Someone will feed you. You'll be fine. Oh, quick. Oh, my God.
We just have a microphone. I think the guys at the back have.
Oh, do you want a microphone? Oh, you can't hear? What? Damn, guys, you were so loud. Well, here's a microphone. Somebody will speak on the microphone now. Apologies. Oh, go.
Just, I guess, to follow on from her question, I'm sort of like in the infancy of my business as well. And I was sort of like wondering if the four of you could possibly share some of the tips that you can do to sort of like start building up your customer base. Because that's one thing I'm sort of like thinking that, struggling a little bit, trying to get more business, coming through and, within those, 12 to 24 months. What sort of things did you guys do, and what do you continue to do to actually start building up your, customer base?
I guess
So,
I'll
microphone.
Okay. First question I'll ask you is, do you know who your ideal client is?
I do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where do they hang out?
So I'm in event planning. So my business is more just focusing on celebrations, so weddings, parties, that sort of thing. So I've been trying to do some networking in terms of like, for weddings, for example, going to bridal expos, that sort of thing, getting to know what other suppliers and other vendors are doing, and also try to to understand what brides and grooms want for their wedding, those sort of things.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just trying to also think outside the box of what other things can I do, because
Networking is pretty good. I found that hanging out with other people that are kind of in the same business and just getting to know people and just creating a circle of friends who are in the same business, where you're not competing against each other, but you're just supporting each other, really helped me. And also having a really good social media strategy to get new leads, because that's a thing that you can do these days. But definitely nothing beats going out and connecting with people, because people refer people that they like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and seem like you've got a beautiful personality. So
Thanks.
I think to grow your base, I say start with your context or your environment. And I know if you're doing weddings, not all your friends are doing a wedding every year. So, but those kind of referrals really work. And also look for networks. There's networks, I think, for each and everything. There's networks for anything. So if you look at networking, a body that works for events management and become a member, sometimes you have to pay a subscription fee and become a member. That really helps, because you also get to know what is happening. And then if you have your own business card, sometimes you just have to attend, the events themselves. And while you are there, give someone a card and so forth. The word of mouth referral for me is the best. People refer people to, if she wants to do something or she wants some service and she's my friend, I will only refer her to someone I know who can give her that service, and that way works the best. However, the other thing is, don't rush. If you're starting the business, do not start looking at the big events managers or companies and you start measuring yourselves against them. If you're starting, go slow with yourself. That's how you develop. You go one day, you get one client, then 2 clients, 4 clients, and you develop that way. do not give up yourself, but have those networks. Go. You have to do a lot of legwork initially.
My thought is strategic alliances. So go to catering companies, go to florists, go to the various other areas that you may be able to find a synergy with. And they may give you some leads as well. So all of my stuff is through word of mouth. I did go down the path of advertising for a little while, and that was $4,000 I could have spent on myself. It got me nowhere. Not one person, nothing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because it's really expensive when you're starting out as well. You don't always want to spend that money to do advertising and stuff.
Do you know, somebody, good friend recently told me, I can't remember what we were talking about, and he said, if you want to do something, like, you know, you're in events, right? Go on LinkedIn, and I know LinkedIn is a bit, it's LinkedIn, but look for what you said, look for like-minded people, and people on LinkedIn, I think you can pay like the premium one where you can message each other internally. So find those people and make a commitment to yourself on the, you know, slowly building, and say to yourself, okay, each week I'm going to meet 2 new people within the industry. So send them messages, introduce yourself, and just be like, you know, I would like to catch up and learn more from you, and kind of just catch up and introduce myself. And he has said people are welcoming for that kind of thing. I mean, if you reach out to 5 people, chances are 2 will say, hey, I'm also in the city. Let's catch up for like half an hour. But then in that half an hour, make sure that it's strategic. Like, you know, make sure you ask or you present yourself the way you would want that person to remember you. You know, you come in, you know, you do your nice things, you know, weather, blah. But get to the point real quick. Like in 30 minutes, set time on your phone so that when it rings, you're like the one who stopped the meeting. And you're like, oh, great, you know, that's me. I gotta, and you're like, oh, this girl is professional. You know what I mean? You're on the time. So I'd say LinkedIn, and even on social media, you know. There's an echo. But like on social media, I've met a lot of people on social media. You know, just take a leap and just introduce yourself. And one thing that people have sent me emails, but they're incomplete emails, and that's frustrating. So if you're gonna introduce yourself, say everything in 50 words. You know, I am this person, I do this, this is the name of my company, this is my website. I would like to meet you to discuss 1, 2, 3. My availability is Mondays, Wednesdays between 2 and 3. I can meet in the city because I'm flexible. It'll be great to meet with you. If somebody gets there, they're like, oh, they do this, they're this person, da da da. Oh, I'm available on Tuesdays at 1:30. Great. They send you one sentence. Yeah, I'd love to meet you on Tuesday, rather than going, oh, this sounds great, but what time? You know what I mean? Yeah. So have your strategy and have like your template that you kind of, pardon?
Sorry, calendar invite.
Calendar invite immediately, because people forget. There's like 17 events a day, and you're like, you are not in it. You know, send them that straight away and lock it in and follow up. Like, you know, before that Wednesday, on a Tuesday, be like, hey, I'm just double checking that you are still happy to meet tomorrow at 1:30. And they'll be like, oh, yes. And then, you know, and then you go in 30 minutes, smash it out, in and out. And then have if you've got your business card, leave it with them. Because, you know, there's a lot of noise with social media. You can tag them and there's other taggers. But if they have your card, chances are they'll remember you. And, you know, if it's well presented like yourself, they'll remember you. And you build slowly.
Hi. So my work is in the arts industry, so I'm a performer and have started a couple of businesses creating opportunities for young people who are interested in the arts. And one of the things that I always have the hardest time with is because it's very difficult to monetize education for people. I find myself needing a lot of help. So I would love to hear, just even quickly, one or two things that you think, you've all kind of talked about, having friends, having, you know, mentors, having, you know, a manager. What are the things that quickly help you figure out if this person is the helper? What are the qualities of the helpers that you circle yourself with?
I can answer that. Well, especially because you are in the, you know, like you said, it's hard to monetize where you are. I think looking for places that, like, you know, I work for Multicultural Arts Victoria, and it's the only one in Victoria that does what it does. And so reaching out to those places where they've got 3 different project managers who do very different things. They do community engagement, they do events, you know, festivals, and you've got like a artist management. You get yourself into something like that. They're usually a membership-run organizations. But again, if you send an email, because I know we get these circulated every day. Like, there's an artist, here's an artist who can help, who's interested. And then you'll find that somebody is actually going, oh, I'm programming such and such an event. And then they're like, oh, give you a call, have a chat, become a member, and then we can do something for you. And then they introduce you to certain things. So in terms of identifying your helper who's going to help you, is have your strategic questions in place. Like, you know, if you're going to walk into an organization or you're going to meet with so-and-so and have a cup of tea, go, you know, you want to know what they've done, who they've worked with, you know, what's their services like, or, you know, read about them and ask them specific questions and say, at your such and such festival, what sort of artists did you, you know, work with, or how did you get hold of your artists? Did you go to their venues? Did you know, those kinds of things. So have your questions ready to go, and then don't be afraid to ask them, like, you know, how do we make money? What kind of cut do you take if you do take a cut? Like, you know, can you find us a job? Can you help me? Can you point me to a grants organization? Can you help me write a grant? If you can't, is there anyone that you know that can help me do that so I can monetize? You know, so for artists, if there are any artists, and whether you're a manager or whether you're a performing artist, places like Multicultural Arts Victoria are good because they get a lot of funding bodies sending things, and then they distribute to their members, and their membership is little, it's like $33 or $22, something like that, which gives you a whole list of benefits. So yeah, and it's finding that community. Or even if you can't go to places like that, if you're in Footscray, for example, go to Footscray Community Art Center. Those people are more than happy to have people knock on their door and go, I'm an artist, I paint great, I don't know what to do. You know, and then they'll go, okay, we have this and that, or we can't help you because we don't know what to do with that kind of art, but we know this person, and that person, so go and follow it up. Yeah, like that. Who else? Oh, that.
Yeah, my name is Roma. I'm not a businesswoman at all, but for a customer. And I would like to know, as Africans, we like being businesses, and probably we might be having the same kind of business ideas in our minds. And knowing that I've heard before, like, you know, to make sure we maintain some sort of like healthy competitions. But we know in businesses it's more like going for profits, and can sometimes get a little bit aggressive. So how do you make sure that you maintain the healthy sort of, you know, competition? Because it's easier said than done.
Wow. Go. Anyone?
I'm not sure what you mean, but I sort of have a belief system that there's enough for everyone, and it doesn't matter if we have 2 exact shops selling the same product. Some people are going to gravitate towards me, and some people are going to gravitate towards someone else. So always having an attitude that if you make your services and products as unique to you as possible, that you're not going to be competing with anyone, and there's always enough, because competition gets aggressive when there's a belief system of lack, and that there's not enough, and then when you're in that vibe, it's not an attractive vibe. And
you know, do you have some sort of savings that you can fall back on? Do you are you responsible for anyone else? I mean, it's just,
mom.
oh well, see, there you go. You
Now
got
it's for food.
food. And it depends on whether or not you can, like, for instance, when I went out and I was working the hours that I had in my dream, I also was able to do locum work. So when I didn't have my children, I could then work for someone else in a very short, duration. Okay, school holidays, my friends want to take their kids away, I'll cover your practice, pay me the money. So, I had an opportunity to increase my income without it coming from my own individual practice. So if you're, trying to find where that balance is, you really just have to say to yourself, okay, can I survive for this period of time without gainful employment? and even maybe look at, how long you've been working at this place. Do you have long service leave? Do you have sick leave? Like, what do you have that you can kind of negotiate? So you might be able to do something like, okay, I've almost got my 3 months long service leave. What I'll do is I'll hang out until then, and then I'll only work 3 days a week, and I'll just fritter away that long service leave while I'm establishing my business. That's also a strategy that might work, depending on what you are doing.
And if you're a mom, and that niece program is probably a good idea, because I remember I used to work with someone who has 2 children, and she really wanted to do this thing that she wanted to do, and then so she was advised to go into NIS because she qualified to get those Centrelink benefits while she's on it. And the good thing about it is because you become accountable, so you have to do this thing, because you will go to class and then you'll get a mentor or like somebody who looks after you, and then you get Centrelink money every fortnight. So it's not going to be that lavish life, but there'll be food on the table and your kids will eat if they have to, and you'll just be like, it's all right, no parties, no new shoes, no handbags. It's okay, because I know that when I finish this 6 weeks, I'll have my business plan. I'll have things in place that will help me kind of go, right, in these next 3 months, I'll be able to launch. There's a good chance that you'll be able to, get into your business. So call Centrelink and then say, hey, NIS program. And they'll ask where you're from, your postcode, and then they'll put you through to the nearest TAFE to you, and then you will speak to them, and then they'll guide you. They're really good.
I just want to share as well that because my mental health situation was so bad, when I quit my job, I kind of just woke up one day and I was like, I can't do this job anymore, and I just resigned. And I didn't have like a plan. Don't do that. But also don't let your mental health or your stress get so bad. If you've got this urge to follow your passion, then you just have to find a way to make time in your already existing schedule, and maybe cut down from work as well. I wouldn't say quit gainful employment completely until you've fully started something, and then eventually you do have to make the jump. So having savings is really good. Being resourceful and cutting down on the way that you live. Like I used to shop all the time when I worked full time. I used to always have boxes arriving, and I was like ASOS addict. But now I'm like op shop addict, And I feel like I still look okay, but I've had to make compromises, and I've had to change certain ways that I was living to accommodate my business. Here you go.
So I have 2 things to say. Like the first one is for like the networking. Like you said, like it's good to do networking, but I think it's also good to like go to see like maybe once a year. Sorry.
Speak up. Give her the speaking up machine.
It's
off.
Yeah. I speak now.
Are you sure?
Yes. I think it's good to do like networking, but it's also good to do like once a year, maybe like try to how do you say this?
Come on, you can do it.
Yeah. So yeah. Like she said, it's good to do like networking, but it's also good to like have like maybe once a year send an email to like people just to let them know that you're still here. Because but the thing is, you never know. Like, you might not need the person now, but who knows? Maybe in 2 years you will need the person. Or like, networking is always like this. Like, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. So like, you have to like keep like feeding it. I don't know how do you say it.
Yes.
But yeah, like keep doing this. That's the first thing. The second one is we talk about success, but we have to say that it's not all projects who are good. Sometimes, like, it fails. So when is a good time to know when to stop and when to, like, okay, I think it's enough now. Otherwise, I will be like deep on it and it's not gonna be good for me. So when is a good time? When do you think is a good time?
I really love that question. I feel like on your journey, you're gonna have a lot of failures. So when I try something, if it fails and it also left me feeling really empty and drained because I wasn't doing it the right way, or I was doing it in a way that was actually taking away from me, then I just refine and I say, okay, how can I do this better? So I don't quit, but I refine. So constant refinement, you know. You might start off, when I started off doing Nice, there were very, like, some things that were different. And then when I moved, like, by the end of the course, I had already refined again. So as you try things, you'll get clarity. You know, you won't get clarity before, but definitely when you have a failure, you get clarity. And you sometimes when you have a failure and it's still something that you really love, yeah, you will be down, but you're still going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to stop dancing because so-and-so didn't like what I did, or I didn't make any money at this thing. You know, I'm just going to keep going. So do you love it enough to keep going even when everyone else is rejecting you and your bank account's on zero?
Yeah, there you go. And I think I was going to say, you know, here at Inside Academy, we forget where we are because they teach entrepreneurs. And their model, from my understanding, I mean, you know, I don't work here, but from what I understand and having spoken to all of the guys here, is that it's practical. So it's not like you're going to a class and then it's theory and, you know, da, da, da. No, you come, maybe you've got that brilliant idea and you're at a point where you go, oh my God, this is not working anymore. And then you come to such a place and you're like, guys, help me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. And then they will guide you through what you have, and then it'll be practical, and then you apply the refining. You know, so maybe you're making jewelry, something simple. And then maybe it's not the right kind of jewelry. You know, maybe it's not the right kind of market. How do you then shift that and refine it to a different place? You know, so maybe it's not rings that you should be making. Maybe it's, I don't know, other different, you know. So here at Inside, that's the kind of thing that they do. They kind of, you know, do things a bit differently, and they kind of help you through your journey, doing practical things with what you have. So if you come and say, I've got a sentence, they'll help you build 26 pages. And when you leave here, you'll be like, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to go and do this and this and that. And some of the things you do even while you're here, so that by the time you finish your course, you're ready to go into the industry. So, you know, finding right courses, finding mentors, and talking to them and going, look, you're making jewelry. How are you succeeding? You know, what is it that you're doing that I can't do? I go to markets, I go to this, but it's not working. What can I do differently? And just listening to those people's stories, and, you know, the fact that they failed for 11 years, you're like, oh, I'm on my 10th month, so maybe I'll just, you know, chill a bit and kind of give it a bit of time. But, you know, when it gets to 10 years, you're like, surely there's something that I got to be doing different. And so, yeah, you'll refine it.
I don't think, like, sometimes it's not really worth it. Like, you will have to take money from someone, like, you can't even give them, like, the money back. And you can't do this for 10 years. So you have to know when to stop.
But this
you have, like, big brands who, like, shut down. You have, like, shops every day who shut down. Like, I think it's also okay to be, like,
it is okay,
moving on.
But I think it goes back to the passion. Why did you start that thing? Did you start it because you want money, or did you start it because you want to make a difference to other people's lives? And then that's when you know, you're like, oh, well, didn't work. I just go back to work. you know. But if it's a passion, you might say, I'll take a little break. I'll see. If it comes back to me, I might do it again. Or maybe I might just shut down, and it's okay. It's okay to kind of go, it didn't work, if, you know, that was not for me. So, yeah, I hear your point as well.
Well, and the other thing, too, is what is success? What does success really mean? I mean, for some people, like for me, success was being able to work the hours that I wanted to work and to be able to have the time to spend doing the things that I wanted to do. That to me was success. Did I have this? Did I have that? Did I have, well, no. But that's not my idea of success. So, you know, you have to think about, you know, why are you doing what you're doing? Or what is it that you want to do with what you're doing?
Yeah.
You know, if it means that you get to stay home and you get to, you know, support your family and you get to be there and nurture your mother or what, you know, whatever it is, it's up to you to decide what your level of success is. But if you're going to measure it by, do I have a Bentley and am I living in Turak? Well, honey, we're all going to fail. You know, in that immediate short term, you know, if that's
If you want one more question, and anyways, after we're going to stay here. If there's any more questions, we'll have some drinks here, so you can still ask questions, network, or send contacts.
One last.
So one question.
Wait,
oh, yes.
Okay, so I know you've talked a lot about, you know, things that went wrong, but for those of us who are not in business and want to start a business, what is one cautionary tale that you could let us know about that, you know, just something that happened to you that you could, that we should look out for? You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things I would let you know is that not everybody is as genuine as you think. Yeah.
There you go.
There are still con men and people are still dishonest. So if you think you're honest, not everybody is honest.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you will go broke. You will.
I think for me, the biggest thing I would say is don't ever compare yourself to other people because all that glitters is not gold.
Yes.
Some people have really nice cars and they look like they're really successful, but their bank account is on zero. And I've actually attended workshops with people who are claiming to be making $1 million and they don't actually have that. So not comparing yourself and just trusting your own journey and trusting your own process. You know, you're gonna fall and it's okay, you're gonna get up. And trusting your instincts because, you know, like whenever I've dealt with anyone who's dodgy, my gut was always like, don't do that. And it always felt hard when I worked with that person. It was like always really challenging and hard. But my gut was telling me straight away something's not right. So yeah, we all have that ability.
Well, I'll say to you, when you start, the thing of people not being honest, make sure you have everything either on paper, on email, some sort of evidence, because once you start getting into things, people lie. They'll turn around and go, nah, I did not agree to that. They can be like, well, hang on, I've got an email trail. So looking after yourself is super important. And sometimes, and there might be friends, you know, to start with. There might be like a really nice person and they love what you're doing and they're like, oh, this is great. But look after yourself, protect your thing because it's your thing. And because you're not comparing yourself, it's your thing alone. The other person might be doing the same thing, but this one is yours. So hold it dear and protect it and fight for it and just look after yourself.
The cautionary tale I would tell you is that understand how the money thing works. So, you know, I had an accountant, I had a bookkeeper in my previous life. And I was like, I'm going to do this myself, and blah, blah. And I was doing this thing, and I was getting a hump in my back, and I was freaking out and getting really pissed off, and it was taking hours, and I was getting all cramped up in my hands, because I just, you know, it was just so much information, this profit and loss thing, and the balance sheet, what the hell? But I finally got to the point where I thought, okay, you know what, I'm done with this. I am done, I'm not doing this, I'm finished. So I ended up getting someone to do it for me. But in that process of getting fed up, I actually figured out how to do it and how to look at it. So when I actually sat down at the end of the quarter and we were looking at the BAS statement, and I said to her, hang on a minute, what did you do there? Because that can't be right. And she's like, oh, I thought you said that. I said, no. And then it made a huge difference. And now it's like, I can see it. I can see anything that isn't quite right. And if someone says, okay, so, what do you owe in the next, 2 weeks? I'm like, and I kind of have it on the top of my head. Even though that's not ideal, but I always have this sort of running thing in the back of my mind, roughly what I need to be doing, roughly, because I don't like the detail. I don't like to focus on every single dollar that goes to the door, because if I do that, it's